Guess who I made? It's Toothless, but with teeth. And if you'd like to make Toothless too, make sure you stick around because today we'll be doing a full tutorial on how to make this cheeky little dragon. What do you think about that, Toothless? Let's kick it off with making the foil armature. I've got the wire and the aluminum foil here. Scrunchy, scrunchy, scrunchy. Then you'll want to grab your aluminum wire. This is to make the wings. We won't be doing armature for the legs, which is pretty good about this little tutorial. I just make a little hole in the foil so I can feed the wings through. Then you want to grab a thinner wire. This is just to do like the little ribbing details in the wings, and to give the wire a little bit more of a sturdy texture for the clay to stick to. Ta-da! Now that the armature is done, we can start putting on the clay. I'm just going straight in with some Sculpting Primo in a black. I always like to flatten the clay out in my pasta machine. This just makes it a little bit easy to apply it to the sculpture. Make sure you smooth it all down once it's applied. Next we'll want to make the head, my least favorite part. I've got some pre-made little glass eyes here. I just bought these ones off Etsy. You'll want to make some little eyelids for this guy. Otherwise those eyes are going to look super spooky just sticking out there on their own. I use my tissue blade to cut into the face to make a mouth. And I'll be attaching the head to the rest of the body before I continue detailing the face. Okay, now we're going to want to do these little, I don't know, dragon horns. They're almost like cute, fluffy little lizardy ears. So I'm going to do a bit of a playful position with one of them. Kind of like a tilt off to the side. I use my silicone tip tool to smooth down any of the jaggedy edges. And I love to use my dental pick tool to get into those tiny, tight spaces. Next I'll be adding a couple of little spikes along the top of his forehead. Just gently press them down with a tool. I like to use a flat tool. Alright, now to give his mouth a little bit of colour, we're going to go in with a bit of pink. I'm not too fussy about what I do inside here because we'll be adding a fish to his chops a little bit later. Now I'm going to give him some teeth. I was thinking of doing a toothless, but since he's going to be chomping on a fish, I figured I'd better put some teeth in there. Now I'm using my texture tool just to come in and do those scales along the top of his head. Next we'll be doing the wings, so I'm just filling in the armature. It's a time-consuming process, but you'll get there in the end. And just make sure you smooth it out nicely after all the clay is applied. Now that that's done, we can start working on the legs. Now this is where I mentioned we do not need an armature because they're going to be tucked up on top of his body. I just shape the legs and I come in with a ballpoint tool so that I've got a spot for his little claws to go into. Now he's also got some spikes along his forearms, so I'm just going to add a couple of those. And next we'll be coming in and adding in the little claws to where we put those little indentations. Make sure you press them in there nice and firmly if you're not using a bacon bond. And grab your texture tool and come in and give him some little scales. And I've got a bigger size here for some larger scales. You want to make sure these details stand out nicely because we'll be coming in later and painting them. Okay, next the back legs. Very similar process to the front ones. Okay, now we just attach them to the body in a position that you're happy with. I'm trying to make him look like he's kind of cuddly and cute and playful. When you're happy with the positioning, just firmly press the legs on. And then I come in and I smooth down the joints. This gives it a stronger point of contact and it also looks more natural. Alright, next I'm going to do the little back end tail fins. I'm not sure what to call them. Smooth down your edges and add a little bit of ribbing detail. I also like to press in as well so that it looks like there's folds in the tail piece. And you want to do that on the other side. Now we've got two. Time to attach those to the body. They just go behind his back legs. I actually really like this part of the dragon design. It's a lot more interesting than just having wings and a tail. Okay, now we're going to bake him just because we don't want to squash him while we're doing the wings. When that's done, grab your bacon bond. Wing time. I just run a bit of bacon bond on the inside of the wings and I trace out a piece of flat clay. I also push in the little wires that we added earlier. This gives me an outline to trace. And just gently press it into the wing. And after a little bit of fiddling, make sure that you smooth out all your edges and attach it nicely. When you're happy with that, we got to do the ribbing and cover up the rest of the wires. So I just roll out a piece of clay and press it on. And I make sure to smooth down the edges so that you can't see the wire. When that's done, we're going to do his tail. It's very similar to the other part of the tail. And when you've got two pieces that you're happy with, we just repeat the process that we did earlier. Ta-da! Put a little bit more bacon bond on the edges of these pieces and then attach them to the tail of Toothless. Use whatever tools you like just to get that smooth connection. Alright, now as I mentioned earlier, this bad boy is getting a fish. So grab some translucent clay, mix in a bit of blue, and shape it to the body of, well, I'm going for half a fish in this case. Here I'm making a little tail for the fish, giving it a little bit of textured detail and adding on some fins. I'm going to use my awesome trusty pan pastels to colour the fish, and when the translucent clay bakes, it's going to look really awesome. When you're happy with the colours you've got, grab your little fishy and a bit of bacon bun and squeeze it into his mouth. He was looking pretty happy about that. Now we're going to bake him one last time. Alright, now to finally finish him off, I'm going to go over him with some extra glossy varnish. I'm going to use this to paint on the scale details. I'm also going to totally cover the fish too, so it looks like it's wet. What's that smell? I can smell something fishy. Ugh, phew. Anyway, if you like today's tutorial on how to make a dragon, make sure you head over to my channel, subscribe, and you can watch this video on how to make a dragon, or this video on how to make another dragon. But until next time, I'll see you later, alligator.